Ever wondered if hidden property restrictions could completely tank your next big investment? I mean, whether you're buying your very first home, maybe a commercial lot, or honestly, even if you just want to build a new fence, understanding Oregon easement law can absolutely save you from some massive legal headaches down the road. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to demystify these hidden land use agreements so you can secure your property with total confidence. Let's get right into it. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to cover uncovering hidden property restrictions, what exactly is an easement, our step-by-step property record search, the unrecorded easement trap, consulting professionals and next steps, and finally, a quick disclaimer. Section 1, uncovering hidden property restrictions and the stakes of your investment. To really set the stage here, we first have to understand the threat we're dealing with. Look, relying solely on a basic property deed, that is a rookie mistake. Failing to detect an easement before closing can severely restrict how you use your own land. It can trigger breach of warranty claims, and worse, land you in incredibly expensive circuit court trials. Basically, your property value, and honestly, your peace of mind are totally on the line here. Moving on to Section 2. What exactly is an easement? Because before we go hunting for them, we need a solid grasp of Oregon property rights. So, under Oregon law, an easement is formally defined as a non-possessory interest in someone else's land. What that actually means is it grants the holder a private right-of-way to pass across the burdened land. But, and this is super important, it does not transfer ownership of the dirt itself. You still own the soil. It's an active right of use. Now, this is very different from a mere license, which is really just a personal, revocable privilege that can be taken away. There are two baseline classifications you really need to know about. First up is the appurtenant easement. This benefits a specific dominant estate by burdening an adjacent servient estate. Basically, it benefits the neighboring property, and these agreements automatically run with the land itself. Second, we have the easement in gross. This one benefits a specific person or a commercial entity. Think of a utility company needing to run power lines. Now, what's interesting here is that Oregon courts actually strongly prefer appurtenant easements. They won't just assume an agreement is personal if it can logically be tied to the land. And aside from those private agreements, Oregon also recognizes several highly specific statutory easements. These are established by the state to protect public interests and natural resources. We're talking about condominium unit easements, as well as specific protections for solar energy, wind energy, and even scenic waterways. Section 3, step-by-step property record search. Think of this as your due diligence playbook. Let's build out our core action plan. We're breaking down this complex legal process into 4 critical phases to comprehensively search for encumbrances. We've got the preliminary title report, county clerk registries, surveyor records, and finally, a physical inspection. Phase 1 involves the preliminary title report, often just called a PTR. This is usually whipped up by a title insurance company within a week or 2 of opening escrow. What you want to do is check Schedule A to confirm the exact property using its formal legal description. Once that's squared away, you move right over to Schedule B. This is where they list the exceptions. So if there's a water right exception listed, for instance, that might reveal a neighbor's pump house is actually sitting on your land. Also, you need to be hyper-aware of standard Western region exceptions. These actually exclude coverage for things like unrecorded easements or adverse boundaries. And to clear those exceptions, you generally have to get a professional land survey done. Which brings us to Phase 2, diving into local county clerk registries to trace recorded titles. Now, what's genuinely fascinating and a bit frustrating is the strict, frankly bizarre, formatting rules and fee variations across different Oregon counties. For example, Multnomah County, they offer a free online search, but head over to Washington County and your documents must feature a highly specific 3x3-inch blank space in the top right corner. If it's missing, you get hit with a non-standard fee right on top of their $86 charge. Meanwhile, down in Lane County, they explicitly mandate a minimum 10-point font. You really have to know your local rules to a T. Okay, Phase 3 surveyor records. The magic number you need to remember here is 45. Under Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 209, any registered professional land surveyor who establishes a boundary monument has exactly 45 days to submit a permanent map of that survey to the county surveyor for indexing. Reviewing these spatial boundary records is absolutely vital when you're trying to physically locate exactly where an easement sits on the actual ground. And for Phase 4, your physical inspection, memorize this number, 811. State law mandates that you click or call 811 at least 2 business days before doing any digging. A professional will come out to the site to locate and explicitly mark underground utility easements, stuff like gas, water, or electric lines. Guys, this is an absolute must, not just to physically verify the utilities crossing your prospective property, but to prevent incredibly dangerous accidents. Section 4. The unrecorded easement trap. This is what happens when paper records simply aren't enough. So here is a very dangerous, very common myth, assuming that if an easement isn't recorded in the county clerk's office, it just doesn't exist. Wrong. Under Oregon law, if you buy land and there is actual or clearly visible notice of an active use, you might inherit those hidden encumbrances. This includes prescriptive easements, which can actually form after 10 years of open and continuous use. It also includes implied easements, which are based on unwritten historic intent from when the land was originally divided. So how did Oregon courts handle these unrecorded, messy claims? Well, look at the 1974 case, Thompson v. Scott. The court held that just because someone uses a road on your property, it doesn't automatically grant them a prescriptive easement. In fact, the law presumes it's just a permissive, friendly neighbor arrangement. The burden of proof falls entirely on the trespasser. They have to prove a hostile intent by clear and convincing evidence, which is a pretty high bar. But let's say you have a written expressed easement. You'd think the exact measurements are locked in stone, right? Well, the year 2000 case of Clark v. Kuhn reveals a really surprising fact. Even if a deed explicitly grants, say, a 25-foot access lane, Oregon courts actually restrict the holder to using only the width that is reasonably necessary for access, meaning they can't just go and pave over all 25 feet unless they can prove it is an absolute necessity to do so. Furthermore, as the property owner, you aren't completely powerless just because an easement exists on your land. You still retain some really vital rights. For instance, the right of relocation. This means you can actually move an existing road within an easement area, just as long as it doesn't hinder the neighbor's access. You also have the right to install gates to secure your property, provided those gates don't unreasonably block the easement holder from getting through. Section 5. Consulting professionals and next steps to secure your investment. All right, here is your final actionable checklist. First up, always obtain title insurance before closing. It's usually just a fraction of the purchase price, but it protects you against massive hidden defects. Second, demand physical copies of every single recorded instrument listed in Schedule B. Read them. Third, hire a registered professional land surveyor. Fourth, consult a local real estate attorney and a title company to ensure absolutely nothing is overlooked. And finally, be very sure to separate basic HOA rules, like your standard CC&Rs, from actual legally binding easements. They are not the same thing. Section 6. Final thoughts and disclaimer. Before we wrap up, I do need to give a mandatory disclaimer. This explainer is strictly for informational purposes only, and it does not constitute legal advice. Property law is highly complex and it's incredibly fact-specific, so please consult with a qualified legal professional or a local real estate attorney to get personalized guidance for your exact situation. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Could a hidden easement be quietly shaping the future value and potential of your next Oregon property? Taking the time to properly investigate public records, to understand Oregon's unique property laws, and to consult with the right professionals, well, it isn't just paperwork. It is the absolute foundation of your long-term legal peace. Perform your due diligence and invest with confidence. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy researching.